Hang on. Okay, so Rajneesh, you want to start with sharing with people your experience of being in the workshop? You're on mute, can't hear you.
Sorry, is it better now?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, so this is the surprise you have sprung on me.
But consultants and trainers should always be ready for surprises, right?
The consultants, definitely.
Yes.
So it was a good training. And so let me give you the context. So the context is that I am interested in learning organizations, and I've been reading, researching on it for a long time, experimenting in some of my previous jobs uh, with things related to it. So it was in this context that I'd gone and attended the training. So there was a theory and then there is a practice, right? And with Manoj, I learned the practice. So the whole theory or whatever it is that look, typically we like to hear voices that are pleasing to us, which is basically people who agree with us. And it is very important that we listen to voices that are dissenting voices or that do not agree with us. But then listening itself is not easy. Like Manoj said last time, that we humans are not designed for listening. And some of the things that happen while listening are that, look, we get these stray random thoughts, or we connect whatever he's talking to some random experience or something else, right? So what happens is when our thoughts take over, we stop listening, right? Similarly, I mean, when we are debating or whatever, so what we start doing is subconsciously we start preparing for what will our rebuttal be or what would our next question be. So all these thoughts distract us from listening. So what Manoj told us was that, look, it's not only you have to practice listening, but you also have to learn when you've learned to know when you have stopped listening, right? Because then only you can kind of you can make a course correction and come back to listening. So this is one part. The other part of listening is that typically when we listen to reinforce our own beliefs, right? So we are listening from the head. We are not listening. We are not genuinely listening, right? So if let us say somebody is a fan of a football team and somebody says something, right? So we would say, yeah, the team is great, and this kind of adds to it. So that again distracts us from what the person is trying to say. So we have to listen from open mind, open heart. Right? So no judgments, no blames, no this thing. We have to be genuinely interested in what we are listening, right? And the next part of it is that can only come when we are curious to know what the other person is saying. And that's where, I mean, where we connect to listening with learning also. So we learn because we listen to people. We also then tend to form deep relationships with them. So I don't know if you read my learnings from the workshop that I had shared there. So the thing that I learned was that, look, listening is very essential because it is actually a bedrock to cooperation collaboration. It forms the bedrock of cooperation collaboration, and it is fountainhead of co-creation. So Manoj explained it to us by taking us through what are different kind of cultures, right? So we can have culture where one person speaks, nobody listens, right? So typically, I mean, in offices or owner-driven companies, etc., we have a supervisor who is very strong, right? Who doesn't like to hear dissenting voices? So nobody actually questions him. Nobody rebuts him. He's the only person is speaking. Other people, they do get turned off, right? Because all they will do is say yes, yes. And I mean, the meetings are very pleasant. The meetings are fine. Some people would be more loyal to the king. They would try and add on whatever his idea is to prove that yes, they've kind of accepted it. But when it comes to practice, nothing moves forward, right? The other risk is that even if it is a bad idea, it goes through. See, normally you would expect that when you bounce your idea, you would expect that look, people will come back, tell you the weaknesses, etc. So there is a filter mechanism that happens, right? Or a feedback that you get on the idea, and then you can work to make it more robust, which doesn't happen. So bad ideas pass through, they fail, right? And then nobody takes ownership of them. And there's like I told you so syndrome that goes around. So this is one kind of culture. The other kind of culture is where everybody speaks and nobody listens. So debates are something similar, right? Where you're just trying to make your point, thinking ki, look, your point is better, or you're trying to convince the other person that your point is better, and in the process you actually stop listening, right? So places like this are dysfunctional because no decision would get taken, right? And they won't be able to move forward. And the third kind of organization or a team could be where everybody speaks, everybody listens. So at a time, one person speaks, others listen. So in situations like this, people can disagree. People love to build on their ideas. They can come together. They collaborate, cooperate, and they co-create. So this is what, in the nutshell, it was. And I mean, if you go deeper, there were other things like Manoj said, the theory U and the three disconnects, right? Because once we stop listening, we'll stop listening to our own heart. We are all in our brain. So we get disconnected from our own self. Similarly, we may get disconnected from the society or the group. One group may get disconnected with the other group. And similarly, when we stop listening to the nature, we get disconnected with the nature. So I think, is it okay, Manoj? I mean, because I learned a lot of other things, but I think that would be kind of a distraction. And then Manoj, I think, is going to dive deeper into.
No, I think this is good. It was interesting to listen to you and the way you put your learning together. It's always uh, interesting. And so that's good. Thank you very much for doing it. And you should feel free to keep sharing it and definitely share on the LinkedIn. You can even create a video and share more, or create text and share more. Right? And also, the more you will share and and make notes and share and actually keep practicing, that is what will keep strengthening for you. Because I could see right now, as you were kind of sharing, you were kind of creating your neural networks, uh, that putting together things, right? And I think it's very useful to do that. And so thanks for doing that. And again, thanks for coming in and participating in the CXO workshop. There are a couple of other people who participated, but were not here today. Hopefully they will be there next time. So Nilesh was there, of course, and this guy, sorry, on the tip of my tongue, Vikas Goyal was there. So hopefully we will have them share next time. Okay, so questions, anybody from whatever Rajneesh shared? Okay, good. So why I also wanted Rajneesh to share is it's kind of in sync with what we are working on today. right? Or what we started working on last week and this week. So one is, I think last week, I don't know where we stopped, but we did start with looking at that as human beings, we are not designed for listening. Yeah. So it's important to listen, but we're not designed for listening. It's like you may say, it's important for us to fly, but we are not designed for flying, right? Eh, So then you use the aeroplane, you don't try to fly. So when you know that you're not designed for something, then you use some alternative mechanisms to deal with it. But when we don't recognize that we're not designed for it, then we get into trouble. Uh, so most of the trouble that we have is we expect ourselves and other people to listen. And we get upset when others don't listen, or we don't listen, or we live in an illusion that we listen. But if you just get that we are not designed for listening, and it's not bad or good, or it's not designed for listening. Like most human beings are not designed to be 10 feet tall. Nobody's upset about it. Anybody here upset that you're not 10 feet tall? No, you don't worry about it. Now, if you have something which is 10 feet height, you don't try to increase your height, right? If you want to go to the, what is that called? In our house, you have those places which are at height where you keep
Step
stuff.
ladders.
Loft.
Loft,
Attic,
yeah,
attic.
loft. Yeah, so yeah, attic or lofts, right? So if you have material there, you don't expect yourself to become that much height and pick up the stuff. You use the step ladder, right? But here we expect ourselves to listen, which is something like uh, expecting yourself to be 10 feet and then getting up, then get into trouble. So we are not designed for listening. Once we know we're not designed for listening, then you can use tools for listening. Okay? So, to cut the long story short, what we want to do is actually start using the tools. Okay. So how do you train yourself to actually listen, cutting across all the millions of theories that would be there on the planet? Nothing wrong with them again, but it's like, what's the point of the theory? Because nobody's listening, right? So now let's look at what is the simple place where you could start. And I'm more interested in this conversation from the context of the work that we need to do with each other and the work we need to do with our clients. And I intend that this will be useful in that context. So one of the things that we say is begin with factual listening. What is factual listening? Factual listening is listening for data. So listening for contradictory data. Because our brain is programmed to listen for matching data. Data which matches our logic, data which matches our understanding. And our brain is programmed to ignore the other data. So, for example, if you have a particular political orientation, and if you are in a conversation, you will pick up data which is matching your logic, right? And other data your brain will filter out. So that's how the brain is designed. Nothing wrong with it. That's what it does. So we have to, instead of fighting the design, we have to use some tools. So one thing is to train ourselves to notice contradictory data. Data which doesn't fit our logic. Data which doesn't fit our current understanding. Data which, if you accept it, it will force us to think again. So it's new data, contradictory data, new perspectives, new paradigms. So actually listening for that. Okay, so that's the first level at which we start listening. That is what is called open mind. See, everybody has an illusion called we have open mind, right? But what's the proof? The proof of an open mind is when you have multiple contradictory data and multiple contradictory perspectives at the same time. So one of the things we said in the workshop is, how many heads should a leader have? And the worst answer is one. If you can only think in one way, then you are not actually thinking. So coming back to factual listening, we say if you are listening and if you do not discover contradictory data, new insight, new perspective, then actually there is no proof that you were listening. Now, so one of the contexts we have is listening to each other, and the other context that is the project that I have proposed. Of course, there's another project that some of us had proposed. So both are open, but I'm just referencing to the project that I had proposed, is interviewing CEOs, directors, and top management. Right now, if we interview them, but if you're not listening for contradictory data, then what would happen? We will listen to what we already know, see the problems in the way that we have always seen the problems, and give the same proposals that we have always given. It wouldn't be any real magic there. The whole intention is to discover the client's thinking, client's world differently, understand their challenges in a new way, and for that, get out of our head and see things from new perspectives. We don't want to just go there and pitch some ready-made formulas and ready-made stuff without really having an in-depth understanding of their challenges. And for that, we will have to listen differently. If we continue to listen the way we have been listening, we won't be able to see anything new. And like that is the big difference between a doctor and a chemist. Right? We don't want to be a chemist who has some medicine who wants to give, but a doctor who can actually do some real understanding, go deep, and discover things in a way which wouldn't be discovered otherwise. So to start that, we have to train ourselves in factual listening, discovering new data. Okay. So let me pause here and ask you, in the last 5 minutes that I spoke, what is the new data did you discover? New data, new paradigm, new perspective, which can make it, which will encourage you to question your current logic.
For me, the new learning is that we are by default designed that we don't listen. I didn't know that.
We're not that we don't listen. We're not designed for listening. It's different.
Yeah.
See, if you say we don't listen, it is like something wrong. No, it's not designed for listening. Yeah. Good. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Somebody else? What is the new contradictory data that you're discovering now?
Is it an assumption that we don't listen?
No, I'm not saying we don't listen. I'm saying we.
No, that is in my head. That's contradictory.
Right. Okay.
That maybe it's an assumption that we don't listen. Many people do listen, is what I believe. So in my head, that's the contradiction.
Right. So the contradictory data is, now you don't have to agree to it, but you have to be able to hold it in your head, right? And say, oh, this is new. I didn't think this way. I always thought some people listen and some people don't. But this guy is saying human beings are not designed for listening. Right? By the way, I'm not saying that people listen or don't listen. I'm saying human beings are not designed for listening. They're actually designed for judgment. They're designed for making an opinion and taking action on that. So the first thing that we do is when we start listening, maybe is we listen for, is this safe or unsafe? Psychologically, right? In most cases, not physically, but the reactions are similar. Whether it's a psychological threat or a physical threat, our responses are very similar. And but basically, we are into the game of judgment, not in the game of listening. We're not designed for that, right?
Yeah, it's like saying, Manoj, if your values are not being met by the other person, you may have your own values, and if that is not
Yeah,
properly
don't go there.
understood,
Don't go there right now, Amar. Don't go there. Stay with my question. What is the contradictory data that you're discovering right now on this call? Because if you're not discovering any contradictory data, you don't have any proof that you're listening. Okay, Manan, what is the contradictory data that you're discovering?
So what happens in here is that when we start listening to a particular
No,
point.
wait. Say the new or contradictory data that I am discovering on this call is, and then say what you want to say.
Okay, so the first new contradictory data that I discovered over here was that when we start the process of listening, this is the thing that that happens. That what if if it happens, then what will happen, and what if it does not happen? What will be the cost that will be occurring?
But that's not what we discussed. So you are bringing in stuff that we didn't discuss, right? That because that's coming from your head. That's not what we discussed. And that's what is happening. We have an illusion that we are listening. Actually, we are listening to our own head. But you are saying some things, none of those words were spoken. Okay? But you will go back thinking, oh, this is what they discussed. We didn't say that. Your brain fed you that data. Right? That's how we are. We are all living in a movie, right? That we discussed last time. The name of the movie is reality. Unfortunately, each one of us have a different movie. So there are 800 crore realities, 800 crore movies going on, all different movies, but the same name. So what is the name of your movie? Reality. What is the name of your spouse's movie? Reality. What is the name of your boss's movie? Reality. What is the name of your customer's movie? Reality. Children, reality. Everybody is seeing the movie and they think the name, and for them the name is reality. But the movie is different. So we have got some 8 billion different movies with the same name going on. So right now on this call, right, there are 12 realities. Which one is better? Is your reality better, or somebody else's on the team's reality better? No, it's just equally valid. It's not better. It's just equally valid. It's just different movie. It's not more valid than your movie. It's not less valid than your movie. It is equally valid. So your children's movie and your customer's movie is different. Is it better than yours? No. Is your movie better than theirs? No. Just different movie. We all live in a different reality. Okay, somebody else. What is the contradictory data that you're discovering?
I guess for me also it was the same thing, that we are not meant to listen. Rather, I always thought that humans can listen better.
Hmm.
But yes, we don't process it. That's different.
Yeah, so we're not talking about the hearing capacity, right? We're talking about listening. And
Listening.
yeah, and so what I'm saying is we are not designed for listening. We're designed for something else. Maybe we're designed for judging.
Hmm.
Okay. And then we have an illusion that we should listen. And then we have an illusion that we are good listeners, or some people are good listeners and some are not. And mostly, so that whole mess that gets created because of assumption that we are listening. Like, but if you get that you're not designed for listening, then maybe something else could become possible. When you stop resisting that you should be good listener, you are a good listener. If you stop resisting all that, then maybe some new magic can happen. Okay, so for you, the contradictory data is human beings are not designed for listening. That's a contradictory data for you, right, Deepika?
Yes, because what I have always been trusting is that, it's the senses which we are endowed with. We can see, we can, yes, surely, ears are to listen and hear, eyes are to see. So that has been the basic assumption that this is what we do.
Yeah. Right, got that. Thank you. Somebody else? And just look here, what are the other contradictory data you're discovering? Because that's how you develop your listening.
Yeah, for
Only
me,
way
what
you
is
listen.
yeah,
Go
for
ahead.
me, what is coming is that at least let me give a benefit of doubt that I'm not listening, that I don't listen all the time.
No, so what is the contradictory data? What is it that you are seeing, hearing on this call, which is contradictory to your earlier understanding?
That I listen.
Okay. So
In certain context, I listen, and maybe I don't listen. Let me give that benefit of doubt and then explore and then see what I'm not listening to.
I am kind of not able to get what you're saying. Okay, I'm only asking you, what is the new data? What is the disconfirming data? What is the contradictory data? Don't tell me what to do with the data. First tell me what is the new contradictory data.
Okay, it is I listen versus I don't listen.
So what is the new data? So
I don't listen.
earlier thought process is I listen, and now
no, it is I don't listen.
But I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you don't listen. I never said that.
So can I say something? I mean, which came to me during the workshop.
No, Rajneesh, don't do that. Rajneesh, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Everybody has to go through their own curve, and you have to watch out for your tendency to help people instead of going deeper for yourself. Yeah. So, Anil, I didn't say you don't listen. I said something else, but of course you didn't listen to that, because what did I say? Somebody else?
You're not designed for listening.
Yeah, human beings are not designed for
Human
listening.
beings are not designed.
And I'm not saying about you. I don't know you personally. I just know human design, right? So human beings are not designed for listening. So we give people a choice in the workshop. You can say I am a human being, or you can say I listen. You can choose one thing. Both are not available together. So Anil, did you get that I didn't say that you don't listen? But you thought that I said that?
Yeah, so I got into that, we listen through judgments.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
first, but I'm not even talking about you personally, right? We're not looking at a personal design, right? This is the human design, right?
Right.
So 8 billion people, all of us, So I'm saying we as human beings are not designed for listening.
Right.
Okay, got that. Thank you. Somebody else? What's the new contradictory data that you're discovering, which makes
Well,
you?
Till date, we all assume that we are all great listeners ourselves.
Yeah,
Now,
and we
what
should
else?
be great listeners.
Yes, yes. But after listening to you, now I understood that it's not true.
Now, of course, your wife was telling you this for 50 years, but you didn't even listen to that because
That's right, because our
because human beings are
this-
not designed for listening, right? Now you can go back and say, oh, listen, you were saying I don't listen. I realized it because I'm a human being. We don't listen. We're not designed for listening. Then she's going to beat you up, but that's a different story.
And then she is going to say, you mean I'm not human being?
Okay, so let's come back. So yes, what's the contradictory data that you're discovering for yourself? Mohak?
No, I was just listening to the conversation, Manoj.
There's no
So-
proof that you were listening unless you can come up with a contradictory data that you discovered today.
I'll tell you a funny one. So what I was thinking was maybe the contradictory data is I can listen.
Yeah, but in the conversation, what did you discover which you didn't have before? Which is different from what you've been holding before. So contradictory to your reality, not contradictory to other people's reality.
Yeah. No, Manoj. So that was just a joke. What I was the contradictory data that I discovered in this conversation afresh was that it's not that we can't listen. Sorry, we don't listen. It's that we can't listen at all. So hearing and listening. So like
By the way, I didn't say can't. Okay, I didn't say we can't listen. I'm saying we are not
designed for listening. Yes.
Yeah, that's a little different than we can't listen. See, we can't listen is a different thing, and we're not designed for listening is a little different. Okay, we'll go into that a little later, the difference. But it's important from the future perspective, what we're talking about, it's important to know the difference.
Yes.
So I am not saying human beings can't listen. I'm saying human beings are not designed for listening.
Okay.
Because if you say human beings are not, I can't listen, then I can't do, then we have no, all the magic that we have won't be available, right? So
Yes, it is a very important nuance.
yeah.
I get
Okay,
that.
great. Thank you very much. Somebody else? What's the new contradictory data that you discovered?
So generally, we don't pick up the contradictory data.
Yeah.
We go along with the flow what people are telling, so that we assume that they talk only what we think.
Yeah.
So what you are told now is we have to pick up the contradiction where it is available in their words or non-verbal communications.
No, I'm saying I didn't even say non-verbal at all. I'm saying
But
we have to listen for contradictory data. Data which will put a question mark on our current logic, current interpretation, current analysis of things.
No, we
So human beings.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, madam. Please
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I just thought that human beings who listen are not human beings is the contradictory data.
But I didn't say that.
You don't say that.
Yeah, because if you are designed not to listen and you are able to listen, then you're not a human being.
No,
you
I
are
didn't say
superhuman.
that. I didn't say that.
Okay.
It
So I'm judging, is it?
Yeah, your brain is doing mischief.
Okay. so we are listening to judge. I mean, we are born to judge.
and then your brain gets threatened because because you have a lifetime of credibility around you are a good listener. Your identity is built around that you are a good listener, or you are a better listener than most people.
True.
And then I am saying human beings are not designed for listening.
So my biggest contradiction is just that statement when you're saying that human beings are not designed. So
Yeah.
if you listen, then you're not a human being. That's the contradiction in my
but
head.
yeah, but that's nobody said that. You are cooking that up.
But that's a contradiction I've picked up.
Yeah, but
Okay.
no, you didn't pick up. You created something which was not even said, and you are going to now. Luckily, we are discussing it, right? And otherwise, you would have gone home thinking that is what I said. I didn't say that.
Okay.
Interesting, right? All of you are
Okay.
listening to things
Yeah.
that I didn't say. Luckily, it's getting recorded, so you can go back and hear what I said. I never said people who are listening are not human beings. I didn't say that. I said you're not designed for that.
What if I say that there is no contradiction, or I am not able to see any contradiction?
Then I would say then there's no proof that you are listening. You might be listening, I don't know, but there is no proof that you're listening. So if you want to prove to yourself, forget proving to anybody else. We don't need to prove to anybody else, right? But you need to prove to yourself, right? So to prove to yourself that you're listening, you need to train yourself to discover contradictory data. Otherwise, the brain is designed to just pick up data which matches our logic and ignore everything else.
Is it that contradictory data always will be available?
May or may not be, but we have to train ourselves for that.
Right.
And as I said, we can't prove that we are listening unless we can catch contradictory data.
Manoj, can I say that there was no factual data in what you said? There was more general talk about this particular subject matter.
No, it's all data.
Can we say unless we examine it on contradictory data?
No, but you will only examine if you have listened. Then only you will examine. Now, how will you examine if your brain ignores it?
Right. So after listening, I will examine. Maybe there is contradictory data, maybe it is not.
Yeah, but you need to first note it, right? That, oh, this
Yes.
looks different from what I thought. This looks different. This looks like a different perspective. Oh, this sounds like something different from the way I have been looking at this issue. Unless you record that data, record that information, record that perspective, you can't do anything with it, right? And your brain is just going to ignore it.
Interesting.
So what happens is we go through life, we go through so many conversations with people, and brain ignores most of the contradictory data. And we can't learn much if we are ignoring contradictory data. Because then what is brain picking up? It is picking up what is already matching its existing theory. In that, there is not much learning.
Correct.
It is more of reinforcement of our current logic. Right? Now, coming back to the world of consultants, for us, we need to get, this is my interpretation, of course, but we need to get into the world of, whatever I say, by the way, is my interpretation, right? So I am clear about that. So my perspective is we need to get into the world of our customers, and we need to see their challenges and their issues in a new way. But we can't do that if we keep listening to it from our head. Because then in our head, we have some theories, some models, some blah, 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 and we keep looking from that only. We keep looking for particular things, and then we ignore everything else. That's how the brain works. And now, unless we can see the situation differently, we won't be able to think differently and create different solutions. We will go with pet answers. Right? So as you can see, just in this small conversation, we can see our brain is adding stuff which I never said. right? And missing stuff that I said in a very simple conversation, which all of us are doing. And this is much safer environment compared to when you're talking to the customers where there is a certain pressure, right? So this is how our brain is working. Okay, so the first thing is to discover contradictory data all the time. And as Rajneesh was pointing out, for that, you might also have to notice where do you switch off? Because mostly your brain switches off, either ignores or switches off when there is something contradictory. Something that you don't like, something that you don't agree with, or something like Amar was saying, maybe it looks like it is against your value system or something, some kind of, there is where brain switch off. Or sometimes the brain switches off saying, oh, I understood, so I don't have to listen anymore. So whatever way brain switches off, we are not designed for listening. And if we don't design for listening, we will not be able to really serve our clients in an extraordinary way. Can you consider that you are not able to listen, like, or not listen? Can you consider that we don't listen to clients in an extraordinary way? And we don't get their world fully? Not from anything wrong with us, but just we are human beings. And if we realize that, then there might be some place to train ourselves, as what we're doing right now, which is first level, to train ourselves in factual data, listening for factual data. Okay, so let's do a exercise, okay? And very simple exercise. Anybody here good at cricket? You understand cricket? Anybody here who understand cricket? Not many people. Okay, but all of you, okay, all of you understand politics, right? Most of you. Okay, so for a moment, imagine, just for the sake of this exercise, okay, just for the sake of this exercise, put all your political commitments and context and everything aside, and just have fun for just like 10-15 minutes. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to discuss with each other what is required for Trump to win the next election. Okay, now you thought we were talking about Indian politics, right? But let's go outside, because that's easier for us to talk about without getting stuck in our head. Of course, there also will get stuck, but still less baggage, hopefully, right? So what do you think is required for Trump to win the next election? Okay, so let's talk, all of us talk, and let's see if we can listen to new contradictory data. Okay, let's start, do for 5 minutes. Let's see where we go. This is an experiment, don't worry. Okay, so don't raise hands, just unmute and speak. This is like a group discussion all of us are having on a round table. Imagine we are on a round table, we are discussing, and Mohawk has served us some good tea, coffee, and snacks, and we are all having a discussion. Go ahead. Mohawk, you want to start first? What should Trump do?
Yeah, he should.
Yeah, go ahead.
He should adopt Hinduism to quote the Indian American community.
Okay. Somebody else? And also keep noticing what's happening in your brain. Right?
Maybe he should come clean in his cases, whatever cases he's involved in.
Okay.
He should also expose the present democratic government's corruption and whatever the mishappenings that are happening in the foreign policy, and internal policy.
Okay.
I
Somebody
think he
else?
should declare a dictatorship in USA. His dictatorship.
Okay. Somebody else?
He should stop his aggressive posturing,
Hmm.
push his agenda.
Okay. Good.
He should
Somebody else?
start a social media campaign to tell who actually he is, because people might be thinking something very different. So
Hmm.
he should start a campaign telling who he really is. I think that would benefit.
Okay. Good. Keep
But
going.
we will listen from our listening. Even if he puts a social campaign, we will listen from our.
Maybe
Okay.
he should go into universities and colleges to promote himself, not as a president, but we can say how he would reform.
Good. Somebody else?
He should involve Ivanka Trump a lot more.
Okay.
He should learn from Indian politics.
Okay.
He should highlight the financial impact his administration actually had on the US economy.
Right. And I think you mean the positive impact, right?
Of course, he
Okay.
made the best of the soup that was Corona. So he
Hmm.
did manage that appropriately.
Okay. Good. Somebody else? 1 more minute. Okay. So let's pause here. By the way, do you know that I didn't say Donald Trump should win? I just said Trump should win. Interesting,
You are
right?
playing games with our mind, huh?
No. I also did not realize it. I realized it afterwards. That I had only said Trump to win. I realized this after Padma talked about Ivanka. I said, oh, I didn't say Donald Trump should win. I said Trump. Maybe Ivanka should be made the president.
Yeah, I wanted to say that actually. Maybe Ivanka should be made president.
That's really contradictory.
Yeah. So I hope the intention here was to see how big a challenge it is for us to deal with contradictory data, right? And as people were saying, like every person spoke something got triggered for you, right? So Mohawk said something and he started with, what did you start with, Mohawk? First thing?
Adopting Hinduism.
Adopting Hinduism, right? And all that. So at each level, the brain is getting triggered and it's looking at it and then reacting to it. Okay. Did you notice that? How many of you can see that brain was reacting in whatever way to each data point? Did you notice that? Raise your hand if you did that. Yeah. Now, here your attachment level is very less compared to if it was Indian politics. Right? If it was Indian politics, it would have become difficult for some of us to remain polite. And we would get, because it's reality, remember? We are all in the movie. What is the name of the movie? Reality. Some of us call it Vastavikta because you don't like English. But it's the same. 800 crore realities, 8 billion realities. And as a leader, as a consultant, as a trainer, we need to learn, I think we need to learn how to build bridges, not between just our reality and people's reality, but also to help people to build bridges between their reality and other people's realities. If you're consulting and you'll see that working with people, everybody has their own reality and there is not enough bridges between them. Do you notice that? So if you look at it, the top management is in their own reality. Each of them personally in their own reality. The middle management is in their own reality. The customers have their own reality. Vendors have their own reality. Everybody is in their own reality, and not enough bridges between realities. Because if you think there is one reality, then there's no question of building a bridge, right? But when you realize that there are 8 billion realities, then you have to create bridges between realities. Questions, what ifs, what are you getting?
I think it's more of appreciating different viewpoints.
Right. Not only viewpoints, but also realities. Appreciating different realities.
Where they come, from where they come and what
because it's not that their viewpoint is different. They're seeing things differently. They're maybe even seeing different things. Not only they're seeing differently, maybe they're seeing different things.
It's like different strokes for
Also,
different folks.
also trying, correct. Also
But-
trying to give a point that others have not shared. So in a way, listening carefully to give something else, some other perspective.
Yeah, not just for the sake of other perspective, but to expand the whole horizon of the conversation.
Correct. Correct. There's no point in repeating what somebody has said. That was what was in my head.
Yeah, good. To expand the, so there are two things people do. Sometimes people say different because they want to show that they are different. Sometimes you say different because you are actually interested to create something different there. Like you have a genuine commitment there, right? Okay, so one of the proposal was to do the interviews of top management. And then there was another proposal which was to provide some kind of training and development for junior
students.
Yeah, for students as well as the junior
client.
Employees, right? And the freshers and the not so experienced guys. Okay. Now, whichever way you want to do, both, I think for both the projects, you will have to interview people and understand the situation differently, right? So one is you can say, oh, I have a solution and I want to go and sell my solution, right? Or I have an offering and I want to go and pitch my offering. That's fine. If you want to do that, that's one way to go about it. You can continue to do that. But the other way that I'm inviting you to look at is, how about you interviewing people, the stakeholders? Maybe the CEO, maybe the business head, maybe the HR manager if you're interacting with. Who the key people that you're interacting with? Maybe the employees themselves, maybe the students you are training, maybe the if you're working with colleges, then maybe the placement heads, maybe the whatever like authorities are there, like maybe the what do you have in college? One is the chancellor, then do you call them principals or dean or so, whosoever is there, right? So like really interacting with key people and discovering it. Okay, I was just trying to put together Google sheet. It's not refined, it is, we will together build on it. So but let me see if I can share the screen with you. It's not, seems to be not open, but let me just access it. And then I will share that. Yeah, okay. Okay, so now share it. Okay, please tell me when you can see the screen. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay,
We can
so
see it now. Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is something that I was just thinking, and you could do your version of it. You can edit it the way you want. I will give the access to this. And if you want to use this as it is, great. If you want to create your own copies and change, that's fine. So some of the things, like for example, interviewer, which would be like your own name, right? Then the designation of the person interviewed. So we don't want you to share the name of the person, right? Because that would be confidential. That's your personal data. We don't need that. But you can share the designation. Oh, he's the MD, or he's the CEO, or she is the chairperson, or whatever is that. So you can share the name of the designation. You could look at the industry of the company. Again, we are not looking at the name of the company because many of us may want to keep it confidential, but you can always share the industry and then the age of the company. How old is this company? Turnover, number of people, city, country. Then is the real question, set of questions. What is their most important objective? Of course, you'll have to ask them that, right? What is their most important objective? And next time we will discuss more on this. How do you ask this question and how do you listen deeply to discover their real objectives? But we should start. And then you could also look at what are their other objectives. Objective 1, objective 2. So most important objective and 2 more objectives. That's what you could discover. And listen deeply to discover that. Next, look at what are the key challenges. Okay, so what happened? Okay, one column disappeared, I think. But, yeah.
Should be called key challenge 1.
I think one column must have just disappeared. Forget it. Yeah, so it doesn't matter. So this is supposed to be key challenge 1, and this is key challenge 2, and then there is supposed to be another key challenge 3, which we will add here, right?
Top three challenges.
Yeah, but you want to write one at a time so that you can, and like that. So we can add one more challenge like that. So I'm thinking that we could start interviewing people like this. Now,
Manoj, one question, Manoj. Is it only to be done for CEOs, or it could be also for business vertical heads?
Anybody, you can interview anybody that you would want. When I designed it, I was thinking that we should interview the top management. It could be the CEOs, the business heads, the HR heads, CHRO.
N-1, yeah.
Yeah, but depending on the work that you are doing, anybody who's important for that, you can interview. And basically, the whole point is to start discovering new data that we normally miss out. Okay, so that is the whole intention, to train ourselves. Okay, any questions, comments? Now, how many of you can see that it's possible for you to interview, say, 2 people this week? Would it be possible for you to interview 2 people? You can actually go out and cause that interview. Right? And they could be your current clients, existing clients, anybody else who's in a senior position. Maybe you're not even trying to sell anything to them, like you know them as a friend or a relative. And you meet them just for training yourself in discovering their key challenges, discovering their objectives, and discovering their key challenges. Right? Okay, Padma.
I'll need to leave.
Yeah. Okay, everybody, thank you very much. Continue this, and if you want to discuss anything further, you can reach out. Plus, do keep reaching out to each other. And I will share this file with everybody. I'm going to do a little bit more thinking on it, and then I'll share this file to everybody. Okay? Thank you very much, everybody. Take care.
Thank you. It was a great session.
Good night, everyone. Bye.
Bye.